Hey guys, welcome back to Lit Sports Online. We're talking mixed martial arts again. We're going to actually start with UFC Fight Night Thompson versus Pettis recap because, of course, in the previous episode we did the preview, and now we got to tell you about the results. So, get right into it with the co-main event where we had Curtis Razor Blaydes and Justin Big Pretty Willis going at it, and, well, we know how this ended, don't we?
Yeah, the favorite kind of cruised to a decision. Curtis Blaydes was as dominant as you can be. You know, I think it was something crazy like 144 strikes to 18 and 14 takedowns to none. Curtis Blaydes had every aspect of the game, and Justin Willis, according to an interview he gave a couple days, just froze. So the question is, did Justin Willis freeze? Was he out of himself? Did he underperform? Or is it just Curtis Blaydes that good, that much better? You know, typically when you hear guys talk about how they froze, or they just weren't feeling it, or they couldn't get into their rhythm, to me, it sounds like an excuse almost. You know, it's like coming out after the fight and going, well, my toe was injured and I couldn't quite get my footing.
Well, why do all these guys got to come out and say and talk about why they lost? Why can't they just be like, well, you know, lost the fight, he had the better performance? It's always an excuse. It's always, you know, just froze out there, man. I wasn't myself. I was injured in the fight. Like, I don't get it, man. It's just they do these post conferences, they just got to say something. Like,
yeah, and I mean, if you think about this, the whole sport is all ego. You know, the whole sport is two dudes get locked in an area with as little rules as possible, and whoever comes out's the winner. And so it's all ego, and I think it's something that people do as almost a defense mechanism. You know what I mean? But that being said, all of your favorite fighters don't do that. All of your favorite fighters come out and go, he was the better man. He had my number that night. I lost. On to the next one. You know, like Cowboy or Raging Ally Quinta or Dominic Cruz. You know, there's all these high-profile guys that when they lose, they come out and they say, or even your Conor McGregor, you know, he comes out and he says, he was the better man. He got me. There's nothing I can do about it. I'll be back better. And that's the way to go about it, you know. When you come out and after such a dominant performance that Curtis Blaydes had, like you coming out and saying, "Well, I froze," and blah blah blah. It's like you're doing two things. You're giving yourself an excuse and a way out, and you're trying to take a little shine away from the other guy. You know what I mean? So, really, it's a dominant performance by Curtis Blaydes, which you know you'd expect. You know he's a guy who beat a K1 Grand Prix striking champion and a dream champion in Mark Hunt, outstruck Alistair Overeem, and then came out here and outstruck and out-wrestled Justin Willis, and there's nothing he could do about it. So really, it's a dominant performance by Curtis Blaydes as opposed to a lackluster performance by Justin Willis, as he would have you believe it.
and what does this mean for Justin Willis? I mean, does it mean like he's never going to be one of those top echelon guys? This kind of like the proof of that.
I don't think so. He's newer in the UFC, so he's not a guy that, you know, has gotten up to the top level and fallen a bunch of times. He's a guy who gained some momentum in beating some of the lower tier guys, and then got a big boost in beating Mark Hunt, and then this is his first real test of a true current young top tier heavyweight competitor in Curtis Blaydes, and Curtis Blaydes turned him away. So it's not a huge setback for Justin Willis. He can come back, he can beat another couple guys and get back towards the top. He's, like I said, he's newer in the UFC, so fans don't really know him yet. And he still has the chance to build his career up. I think he's 8-2 now. So it's not a huge setback. He's still be able to build himself up by beating some of the lower guys and getting back towards the top of the division. He has the power, he has the athleticism, and he has the skill to do it. Just remains to be seen if he will.
Moving on to the main event, we have Stephen Wonderboy Thompson against Anthony Showtime Pettis. And in this one, it was Showtime that won with the knockout, the underdog. Had a feeling this might happen, but what's your take?
It's one of those like crazy oh shit moments. You know, you watch the first round and it goes kind of the way that I thought it would go. It's both of them trying to fight at the same range, both of them being flashy kickers that come from a kind of a different stance style. You know, typically in MMA you see boxing or kickboxing centric styles where they lean forward a little bit. Anthony Pettis is a Taekwondo background. Wonderboy Thompson has a karate background, so they both stand a little more centered, a little more at range. They like throw a lot more kicks. You expect, if both guys are that way, you would expect the bigger guy with the longer reach to hold a little bit of an advantage. And that's what we saw in the first round. In the second round, Showtime kept on with the game plan, and I think one of his big points was to throw some leg kicks. And it ended up working, and you know, Wonderboy's movement was a little slower in the second round, and he had pressured Anthony Pettis up against the fence, and Pettis threw a completely like out of nowhere Superman hook. Like normally when you see somebody throw a Superman punch, it's a straight punch down the middle, and they do it as a way to cover distance. And Pettis did it again as a way to cover distance, but he threw it weird. He threw like a hook, and so what happens when you throw that hook that way is it kind of sneaks out of that main line of sight if you're kind of standing long like Wonderboy Thompson does. So Wonderboy Thompson stands with his front foot more square than straight, like a lot of kickboxing and boxing fighters do. And so when you throw that long outside hook like Pettis did, when you're standing as sideways as Wonderboy Thompson likes to, it kind of comes from a weird point where you can't see it as well. And so that's what happened. Pettis threw this giant Superman hook. It snuck in, caught Thompson right on the chin as he was trying to back up. So instead of, being in his two-footed stance, he was taking a step back, so his feet were collapsed. He didn't have any base to catch the punch on, so he couldn't actually withdraw and take it on the chin and roll with it at all. And so Pettis knocked him out cold. It was incredibly impressive. Landed a couple shots after he was on the ground. Ref called the fight, and all of a sudden we have the third person ever to win fights at featherweight, lightweight, and welterweight. The first two are Kenny Florian, Ken Flo, one of the greatest fighters to never win a title, and Conor McGregor. Anthony Pettis joins those ranks. So, the former champ and Wheaties box model or whatever just sets another record and gets a huge win in a division he's never touched before. So I'm real interested to see where he goes from here.
So he won the title in this fight?
No. He beat the number 4 guy in a weight class that he's never been in before. So Pettis fights at lightweight, typically. He went up to welterweight and beat the number 4 guy, who... Wonderboy is a phenomenal fighter, but now he's looking at one win in his last, 5 fights. So, Wonderboy had an incredible run up to the title, lost to Tyron Woodley, won a fight, rematch against Tyron Woodley, lost again, lost a fight against Darren Till in a close decision that he could have won, and then now lost a fight against Anthony Pettis. So he is one of the most diverse and effective strikers in the UFC, but he finds himself on a losing streak. And, if he's going to lose to somebody, Pettis is an incredible striker in his own right, be it a smaller man. So it's not so crazy, just unexpected,
So that does it for those fights. One favorite winning, one underdog winning. Sounds typical enough. But before we
Yep.
end our episode here, we do want to bring up the news of Conor McGregor announcing his retirement amid a sexual harassment charge in Ireland. So this is kind of baffling to me. Perhaps you have more insight into why he felt it was an appropriate time to call his retirement?
Well, I think that's a little interesting way to frame the events, right? Conor McGregor came out on Twitter and announced his retirement at a young age, after he had been in talks to schedule a fight. So what I had heard was he was trying to schedule a fight against Cowboy Cerrone. They were trying to give him a co-main event. So after you're a man of Conor McGregor's stature, where you fight on UFC main events for so long, making so much money and getting cuts of the pay-per-view, which you don't get as a main event or as a co-main event, then you fight Floyd Mayweather and make $100 million and all this stuff, and then you come back and you fight in another main event, and then the UFC's next fight they try to give you is a co-main event, right? Because the UFC typically tries to have title fights as main events of pay-per-views. Conor McGregor is such a giant name that, like, can you really put him in the co-main event? I don't know. So I'd heard that the negotiations for his next fight weren't going crazy well, and then I saw the tweets and articles that he was calling for his retirement or announcing his retirement. So my first thought is, okay, it's a publicity stunt. He did this in 2016. He did this in 2016, a month after he lost to Nate Diaz. He announced his retirement. It was really just like a leverage point against the UFC, saying like, hey, I'm your biggest draw. You're not going to make as much money without me. So I can just retire and you can do whatever you want. If you don't want to give me what I want, I'll just retire. I'll walk away. You guys can have fun. And the UFC says, okay, well, we stand to make a lot more money if you're here, so we'll give you what you want. And then he fought 2 more times that year. So to me, it looks almost like a publicity stunt. We'll see if it actually is. If he's actually retiring, he definitely deserves some recognition for what he accomplished. One of very few fighters to hold titles in 2 divisions, and absolutely was a marketing phenomenon. The highest paid fighter to ever walk in the octagon, without a doubt. Transcended into boxing and social media and other medias and all sorts of stuff, and has accomplished something that no other MMA fighter has been able to accomplish. He is truly one of a kind that will probably never be replicated in our lifetimes. That being said, you then have to move on to the sexual harassment charges, right? So, what are they? We don't know that much. They came out 6 hours ago was the first report that I saw. 7 hours ago, like today. We don't have much information. It's from December. It had already come out. It's just being kind of brought up. There are laws and things around when a person can and can't be released as being an actual suspect in regards to what they've been charged with. I don't know what's actually going on. Part of it seems like a kind of counter marketing thing of, he retired. Well, he's a fuck.
He's a fuck.
Yeah, kind of like a counter release of, let's ruin the moment, you know what I mean? I don't know. On these things, I generally tend to try to hold my judgment of what actually happened. There will obviously be an investigation. It wouldn't surprise me. Not saying that I've heard anything, but saying you look at the personality and the stature and what he does for a living, and you say, oh wait, this millionaire prize fighting dickhole is charged with sexual assault. Who knew? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, okay.
It's kind of like how people forget that Tyson was charged with rape. You know what I mean? Love Mike Tyson, but that was the thing.
Yeah, it was a thing. So, I guess we don't have a whole lot of information on the particulars of it yet. I mean, bottom line is, I mean, who knows? Maybe this is just something that gets settled outside of court with money. I mean, you never know. We are talking about a rich prize fighter, as you said.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with his retirement. I mean, maybe he's going to end up, maybe it is a sham and he's going to come back and there's another publicity stunt. But
yeah, he tends to use it for leverage. It's a see what you can do without me type of deal.
I mean, could they give him the main event with Cerrone on like a different?
Well, Cerrone's scheduled to fight somebody else at this point. But they could definitely give him the main event on any fight card, any pay-per-view, any fight night, anything they wanted. They could give McGregor the main event, and he'd blow the numbers out of the water in most cases. They could put him anywhere.
So for UFC, it's just a matter of principle. Like, we schedule title fights as our main event. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, that's definitely something to it, and it's obviously based on some sort of research, and that a title fight makes more money than a non-title fight in general. So if you can have McGregor fight as a co-main to boost the numbers on a different title fight, and then win, and then go for another title fight and make the biggest numbers you've ever seen, why not do that? But
well, everyone, that does it for this episode. Make sure to like, subscribe, stay tuned to the channel, give us a comment. We will reply to your comments, so if you got any suggestions, let us know. But until next time, see ya. Well, he said he was 18 and he didn't know what the film was about or something, some bullshit.
Well, my mom's really cool. Jesus.
Took his mom to go see the movie Deep Throat. I mean, come on. You didn't know what the movie was about, really?
Yeah. It's like Pee Wee Herman taking his mom to the movies. No?
Alright, you mofos ready?
The dude got arrested for jerking off in a porn theater. Some people,